What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about why I am getting Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, the next big Don't Nod game. And honestly, a lot of talk. There's been a lot of talk on this game, and what we're going to do in this video, spend a lot of time, I think, talking about Don't Nod, but this game does have a lot of potential. And this game, much like many people are saying leading into it, this is their chance to put so many different things kind of together in a package that they've really... Have they ever done something like this before? The answer is probably not, right? So let's first get out of the way, what is this kind of video? Well, it's a video series where I talk about an upcoming game, whether I'm getting it, not getting it, or I'm somewhere in between. This was always a get ever since, they showed it off. I mean, look, and this actually goes directly into how I feel about Don't Nod, because I was going to say, do I normally support their products? I've said this many, many times. Don't Nod is such an up and down studio. And I mean that with love. I say it quite often. I hope they understand it. I feel like we have a good relationship, me and the company. We talk sometimes. But honestly, no. Where I stand is Life is Strange, the first game, is one of my favorite games of all time. And I think they put so many great elements into that game. And I can talk about that game for literally days and days and days. Love it to death. They've never been able to recapture that. Now, they've also made different kinds of games, right? So, obviously, you make Life is Strange 2. They made games like Tell Me Why and Twin Mirror, those games are close to Life is Strange, but obviously, in terms of the themes and what they're doing, but more of a walking sim, choose your own adventure kind of stuff. They've replicated the genre, and they've never, successfully pulled it off to the degree of Life is Strange. But they're kind of all over the place. Like, Tell Me Why is actually pretty solid, but I wouldn't say it's, incredible. You look at a game like Jasant, which is super different. That's that rock climbing one that just came out. They gave it to me actually as a review code. I love that thing. I think that game is actually really good. I think that's maybe their best game since Life is Strange. I think Life is Strange is better, but they make all sorts of different games. You got that Bloom and Rage game at the end of this year, which is from the makers of the Life is Strange, or the Life is Strange team, let's say. So what I'm getting at here, you say, well, Alex, what about this game? Well, this game does look really good. And this game has a couple qualities of classic Don't Nod, right? Like what draws you in. It's got... seems like strong narrative, strong characters, and that at its core, except for maybe Jasant's, right, that's what you focus on in a Don't Nod game, is the story of it, is the characters, and then how you change that, right, choosing your own thing. So this game has all of that. At least it looks like it. I think it looks like it has two strong characters. I like the time period. I like what they're going for. I'm a big fan of, choosing narratives and branching paths, and they do it pretty, I'd say pretty solidly. They've evolved. Like, Life is Strange was definitely in that era of faking you out, making you think there was more of an impact when you make a decision than there actually was. That's one of the only negatives, and that's only because of time. Time changes a lot of things, but nowadays, yeah, you really need to have consequences for the choices you make. And so hopefully, I say that this game needs to do it. This game is not made back in 2015 with Life is Strange. This game needs to have branching paths. This game needs to actually have consequences to the choices that you make. But on top of that, because again, in a classic Don't Nod game, Twin Mirror, a Tell Me Why, a Life is Strange, that's actually all you would focus on. The setting, that's important too, but the next part of it, you don't really talk about because, it's not really a factor, gameplay. Now, you play games to play them, so I can understand why it's not even necessarily an acquired taste, but like these games only work for certain people. Some people are only in these games, gaming, for how they play, how they operate, and these games are not gonna satisfy it. The issue, in a good way actually, the solution is that this game is the most different from everything that I've seen. Even that Bloom and Rage game, later on this year, classic Life is Strange vibes, but is it going to be which, I have nothing really against that. I like games, here and there that have that in them, where you just walk around, click things, and interact and stuff. But what this game reminds me of like a God of War. God of War is a big, I think, inspiration for a lot of games. That third-person camera's kind of pulled back, more hack and slash, kind of an evolution of what God of War used to be, and then you put it in third person, and it became so big. I think a lot of people have kind of taken it from it. That's what this reminds me of. And so, like I said, normally you wouldn't even focus on the gameplay, but the gameplay of this game immediately stands out. And that, this game was announced, I believe, not this past Game Awards, but the year before. At least I'm pretty sure that was the case. Yeah, because I think it was confirmed. They wanted to release this game this past year, 2023, like towards the tail end, and I think it got delayed into now February, right? So anytime we've seen this game since they announced it, I think when they announced it, they showed gameplay, but I could be wrong. I just remember when I saw the gameplay, I thought, oh, man, that stands out. That's not Don't Nod, and actually, I'd like to maybe amend that because Jasant's gameplay is actually very important in that game. Rock climbing, the entire point of it is climbing rocks and how the elements affect your movement and all sorts of stuff. Gameplay is actually quite important there. So maybe slightly, a pivot. They're trying to focus a little bit on different elements. So my point is this. If they can put together all of these elements, this can be a really, really good game. I'm waiting for them to replicate the Life is Strange vibes in a game that, whether they want to make more Life is Strange games or games that aren't Life is Strange, but they want to use that type of game, I'm waiting for them to replicate it, right? Because I don't think they've ever done it. So I am waiting for that for this game. I'm hoping that the story is the best they've told since that, or the characters are the best they've done since that, or, whatever, right? The emotional impact, because that's really strong, very strong in Life is Strange. So I need that, and that is, again, more classic Don't Nod. But now you got, this could actually be a very, very solid game itself, playing the game. And it might be their most fun game to actually play. Never was a fan of, whether you say vampire or vampire, however you say that game's name, was never a fan of that game, by the way. So I don't think that game did almost anything right. You could argue that game was definitely more focused, too, on gameplay. But, I kind of forget that game even exists. Regardless, I think this game can be very good. The release date, yeah, it's sandwiched. It's sandwiched in between all of the games of early February, even late January with like Infinite Wealth and Persona, Suicide Squad, Helldivers even, right? And then right after this game, you got the legend that is Skull and Bones. You have Final Fantasy, Rebirth at the end of the month. It's not ideal, but, like I said, they wanted it this past year, 2023 at the end. It got delayed. What are you going to do? March is no better. March is pretty packed as well. So it's going to need to stand out because it is, I would say, when you say Final Fantasy or Suicide Squad or even Persona is a pretty big name, it's exactly that, right? They have name recognition. I think they're going to stand out. Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden, that's a tough one. That's like, it's a property that you need to introduce. And so I hope that they can do it. I hope that it stands out. And honestly, and it's easier definitely said than done. It needs to be good. There's no time to like work out the kinks. Like bugs and stuff are obviously things you never really want to experience, but they're always there. This game just needs to be an overall, like when review scores go out and when people are talking about it, it just needs to be good. Like, there can't be any middle ground where it's like, they fumble on half of it, but half of it is pretty okay. This needs to be the package deal. Otherwise, I really think this game is going to get buried. That's the honest truth of it, is these games are already for specific people, and they never do bonkers numbers. In fact, Life is Strange is their highest selling. So now you have a month that's really packed of all different kinds of games. This one's more under the radar. You can't come out swinging with like a 60. Even though I don't care about review scores, other people do. You can't come out swinging with like a 60 on Metacritic, right? Like this needs to be in the 80s. This needs to have some excitement or just some like positive vibes heading into launch, and then we'll see how it does. So that's my thoughts on it. I'll be covering it. We'll see, if I get it early or not. Right now, nothing's guaranteed, so just expect videos on it for sure. Just when, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.